Imagine making like $800,000 a year, every single year, for almost a decade.
Right, which is just life-changing money for most people.
Exactly. But imagine making all that and having absolutely zero net worth to show for it. I mean, it sounds impossible. Mathematically, it just shouldn't even be able to happen.
It really shouldn't, but it does. And today, we're unpacking a whole stack of research that proves your bank account isn't actually determined by your paycheck or, your budget or your spreadsheets.
Yeah, which is kind of wild to think about.
It is. It's actually determined by this invisible psychological thermostat.
Well, welcome to today's deep dive. If you're joining us, it means you're exactly our favorite kind of listener. A naturally curious learner who's always looking for that aha moment.
Yeah, the people who really want to look under the hood.
Exactly. And we are taking on a pretty massive, fascinating mission today. We are decoding the psychological framework of wealth, and we're pulling insights heavily from T. Harv Eker's core concepts in Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, along with some deep dive chapter analyses and practical declaration guides.
But just to be clear, we aren't talking about the stock market or like real estate today.
No, not at all.
Because those are just the tools. I mean, traditional financial advice obsesses over the tools.
Right, like what app to use or what index fund to buy.
Exactly. But if the toolbox itself, which is your mind, is compromised, then the best tools in the world are completely useless. So today, we are entirely focused on the toolbox.
I love that.
We're going to uncover those invisible mental blueprints that dictate our financial reality and figure out exactly how to, overwrite them for lasting success.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because if two people have the exact same financial knowledge, the same opportunities, and the same market conditions.
Yeah, everything on paper is identical.
Right. Yet one rockets to wealth while the other goes completely bankrupt. I mean, something deeper has to be driving the vehicle there.
Absolutely. And to understand why the toolbox supersedes the tools, we kind of have to look at how nature operates. Because the visible world is always just a printout of the invisible world.
A printout. Okay, I like that.
Yeah, so think of the tree of life. The fruits hanging on that tree represent our results. And in this case, our financial results.
And people constantly obsess over the fruit. I mean, if our bank account is too small or the results are bitter, we spend all our energy trying to manipulate the fruit itself.
Right, we try a new budgeting app, or we switch our investments, or we just try to work a few extra hours.
But you can't change the fruit that's already fully grown and hanging on the branch. If you want different fruit next season, you have to change the roots.
Exactly. It's what is under the ground that creates what is above the ground. And, there is an actual mechanism for how this manifestation works in the sources.
Right. It operates as a strict sequence, doesn't it?
It does. Programming leads to thoughts. Thoughts lead to feelings. Feelings lead to actions. And actions lead to results.
So P leads to T, leads to F, leads to A equals R.
That's the formula. Every single financial action we take starts as a microscopic piece of programming deep in the subconscious.
And that underlying programming functions exactly like a financial thermostat, right?
Yes, the thermostat analogy is perfect. Imagine a room set to 72 degrees.
Okay.
If a window flies open and a freezing winter wind blows in.
Which would be like the equivalent of a market crash or a sudden job loss.
Exactly. The room temperature drops temporarily. But what happens?
The system automatically kicks on.
Right, the furnace fires up, and it drives the temperature right back up to 72.
And it works in reverse, too, which is the really dangerous part.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about it.
Like a massive heat wave hits. Say you get a sudden inheritance, a huge bonus at work, or you win the lottery.
Yeah.
The room heats up to 90 degrees.
But the thermostat is still set to 72.
Exactly. So because the internal thermostat hasn't been changed, the subconscious system actually panics. It actively cools the room back down.
It has to course correct.
Right. It will find a way to get back to 72 by suddenly making a terrible investment or buying a boat you definitely don't need or just mysteriously losing the money.
It's so true.
It actually reminds me of a smartphone's operating system.
Oh, how so?
Well, you can download the absolute best, most expensive financial tracking apps available on the App Store. But if your underlying OS is infected with bugs that cause a system crash every single time you try to save money,
then those apps are completely useless.
exactly, the apps can't fix a broken OS.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it reveals a profound truth that completely shifts how you view poverty and wealth. A lack of money is never actually the problem.
Wait, really? It feels like the problem.
I know, but a lack of money is merely a symptom. It's the effect. Your internal programming is the root cause. You cannot solve a symptom without addressing the root code.
Which naturally forces us to look at where that original root code even comes from. Because, I mean, we aren't born stressing over credit scores or mortgage rates.
No, babies don't care about the S&P 500.
Huh, exactly.
Sure.
We absorbed this code during childhood through three main channels, right?
Yeah.
What we heard, what we saw our parents do, and what we emotionally experienced.
Let's start with what we heard, the verbal programming. Think about the pervasive phrases just floating around most childhoods.
Oh, yeah, like money is the root of all evil.
Or, rich people are greedy.
We can't afford that. That's a huge one.
Yeah, those phrases become invisible scripts. And this brings us back to that guy you mentioned at the start of the deep dive.
Oh, Stephen, the one making $800,000 a year but staying entirely broke.
Right. So growing up, Stephen's mother constantly drilled it into his head that wealthy people were greedy pigs who exploited the poor.
Wow, greedy pigs.
Yeah. She insisted you should only have enough to get by, and anything more made you a terrible person.
And Stephen deeply loved his mother, right? He craved her approval above everything else.
Exactly. So his subconscious mind created this unbreakable psychological link between being wealthy and being a greedy pig who loses his mother's love.
Man, that is a heavy burden for a kid.
It is. So what happens when he grows up, becomes incredibly successful, and starts making nearly $1 million a year?
His internal thermostat panics. The room is too hot.
Yes. His subconscious mind ensures he gets rid of every extra dime he makes so he doesn't become the pig his mother despises.
He was literally dumping his wealth to protect his relationship with his mom.
So Stephen is stuck in this brutal trap. I mean, if he keeps the money, he loses his mother's love. It's a lose-lose situation.
Right. The only way out of that paradox is to somehow make his mother associate his wealth with something she actually values.
Which is the elegant, brilliant solution he ultimately found.
What did he do?
He realized his mother absolutely loved Hawaii.
Oh.
Yeah. Once he understood that his programming wasn't an absolute truth, but just this inherited script, he shifted his strategy. He bought a beautiful beachfront condo in Maui and sent her there for the entire winter.
Oh, I bet she loved that.
Suddenly, she loved his wealth. She bragged to all her friends about her incredibly successful, generous son.
That is amazing.
Stephen no longer had to subconsciously sabotage his finances to keep her love.
A total hack of his own operating system. But verbal programming is really just one piece of the puzzle. We also have modeling, right? Simply mirroring what our parents did.
Yeah, modeling is huge. It's fascinating because T. Harv Eker actually experienced this firsthand.
Right, his father was a builder.
Exactly. His dad would borrow heavily for construction projects, plunging the family into massive stress and debt. Then the houses would sell, and they'd be rolling in cash.
A massive boom and bust cycle.
Total yo-yo income. And Eker realized that in his own early career, he was subconsciously replicating that exact same pattern.
He was just playing out his dad's blueprint without even knowing it.
Right. He would build up a ton of cash, then mysteriously lose it all, completely unaware of why. We just default to the familiar, even when the familiar is super stressful.
That makes sense. But the third influence, which is specific emotional incidents, that one seems like it leaves the deepest, most volatile scars.
Oh, absolutely. These are highly charged events that fuse money with intense trauma.
Like the story of Josie from the text.
Yes, Josie the nurse. This one is heartbreaking.
It really is. She was, what, 11 years old?
Yeah, 11. She was at a Chinese restaurant with her parents, and a bitter, screaming argument erupted over money.
And then the unthinkable happens.
Right. Her father slammed his fist on the table, suffered a massive heart attack, and died right there in her arms.
That is just unimaginable trauma for a child.
Devastating. And from that day forward, Josie's subconscious mind irrevocably linked money to absolute pain and death.
Wow. So as an adult, whenever she accumulated any savings,
Her subconscious triggered a severe panic response. It found ways to drain her accounts, operating under the deeply ingrained protective belief that having money literally brings death.
it was just trying to keep her alive.
Yeah.
But, it doesn't even have to be a massive tragedy to leave a permanent mark either.
No, not at all. Minor things can hardwire us too.
Like the example of the woman who, as a little girl, would constantly ask her mom for a quarter for the ice cream truck.
Oh, yeah. What did her mom always say?
Her mom's default response was always, I don't have any money, go ask dad. Men have all the money.
A seemingly innocent repetition.
Right. But it hardwired two distinct beliefs into her young mind. Women don't have money, and men hold all the wealth.
So fast forward to adulthood.
She subconsciously spent every dime she earned to validate her internal belief that women shouldn't have money. And she expected her husband to act as the sole financial provider, which created immense friction in her marriage.
It's wild how those little seeds grow into massive weeds.
It really is.
Yeah.
But I actually want to pause here and genuinely wrestle with this for a second, especially the modeling part.
Okay, lay it on me.
Because I look at people who grew up with broke, financially stressed parents, and many of them aggressively decide to do the exact opposite.
Sure, they rebel.
Right. They hate the poverty they grew up in, so they hustle relentlessly. Isn't rebellion a perfect and valid way to escape the blueprint? Like, if you look at your parents' mistakes and get rich out of pure spite, haven't you beaten the system?
That is an incredibly common assumption and logic. I mean, it makes total sense. Rebellion certainly provides a massive amount of high-octane fuel in the short term.
Right. It gets you off the couch.
It will absolutely get you moving. But it is a psychological trap.
Why, though? If the fruit is massive wealth, who cares if the root is anger or rebellion?
Because of neurolinking.
Neurolinking.
Yeah. If your motivation for acquiring wealth is rooted in anger, fear, or a desperate need to prove your parents wrong, the money will never, ever bring you peace.
Oh, I think I see where this is going.
Your brain creates a neurological link between money and anger. They become completely fused together.
So the more money you make.
The angrier and more stressed you become. Eventually, the psychological toll just becomes too heavy. Your higher self steps in and says, I'm exhausted, I just want peace.
Wow.
And your subconscious mind looks at that neurolink and calculates the solution and says, well, money equals anger. To get rid of the anger, we have to get rid of the money.
So you start throwing it away.
Exactly. You begin to subconsciously sabotage your wealth. You'll make terrible investments, engage in reckless spending, trust the wrong business partners.
Just to get rid of the stress.
You lose the wealth to seek peace, but you end up broke and still holding on to the root, anger. Rebellion doesn't overwrite the code. It just runs a more volatile, destructive version of it.
You literally destroy the fruit to try and kill the root.
Yeah.
That is heavy. So if rebellion doesn't work, and you realize your blueprint is built on outdated scripts or traumas, how do you actually go into the system and cleanly overwrite the code?
There is a 4-step framework for lasting cognitive change.
Okay, what's step 1?
First is awareness. I mean, you cannot alter a program you don't even observe. You have to start catching your automatic financial thoughts in real time.
That makes sense.
Second is understanding. Tracing that thought back to its origin, realizing it was your mother's fear or your father's habit, not some absolute truth about the world.
Which naturally brings up the third step, right? Disassociation.
Exactly.
Looking at that ingrained habit and realizing this is just a file I was handed. It is not fundamentally who I am.
Right. You separate yourself from the programming. You observe it without identifying with it.
Yeah.
And that gives you the power to choose whether to keep it or delete it.
And the final step is reconditioning. Installing the new software.
And the primary mechanism for this reconditioning in the text is the use of declarations.
Now, we need to draw a hard line here between an affirmation and a declaration because they are not the same thing.
They really aren't.
Affirmations are incredibly popular, but they often fail miserably. Because an affirmation claims that a goal is already a reality. You stand in the mirror and say, I am a millionaire.
But your brain isn't stupid.
Right. The little voice in your head immediately whispers, no, you're not, you're broke. You're lying. The brain rejects it entirely.
A declaration is structurally different.
How so?
It is an official statement of intention to adopt a new status or take a new action. You aren't claiming it's true today. You are declaring a commitment to your future.
And the brain accepts that because it isn't a lie.
Exactly. And the physical implementation of these declarations is highly specific.
Oh, right. The physical part.
You are instructed to place your hand on your heart, state your declaration aloud to release the past, and then touch your head and say, I have a millionaire mind.
See, here's where it gets really interesting, but also, I have to admit, a little weird.
You think it's weird.
Touching your head and talking to yourself out loud sounds incredibly hokey. I understand the cognitive reframing of setting an intention, but why attach a physical action to it? Like, why isn't just thinking it enough?
What's fascinating here is the underlying physics of human biology.
Physics.
Yeah. Everything in the universe, including our bodies, is made of energy traveling in specific frequencies and vibrations. When you simply think a thought, it remains isolated in the mind.
Okay.
But when you state a declaration aloud, it produces a physical vibration that actually resonates through the cells of your body.
So touching the heart and head actually grounds that frequency.
Exactly. It sends a tangible physical shock wave to your subconscious mind, bypassing those logical filters that constantly try to reject new ideas.
Oh, I see.
It is an embodied practice rather than just an intellectual one. And frankly, a little initial awkwardness is a very small price to pay.
Ah, true.
As the text notes, it is much better to feel a bit hokey while building real wealth than to look incredibly cool while staying completely broke.
I cannot argue with that logic at all. So we've cleared out the virus. We're using declarations to prepare the system. Now we have to actually install the new operating software.
Right, the wealth files.
Yes. This involves adopting entirely new ways of viewing the world, shifting from a mindset of scarcity to a mindset of abundance. And the starkest contrast here is the difference between operating as a creator versus operating as a victim.
It is the foundational shift of all wealth creation.
How does that break down?
Well, wealthy individuals operate from the core belief that I create my life. They firmly believe they are at the steering wheel.
And the other side?
People struggling financially operate from the belief that life happens to me. They view themselves as passengers in their own lives. And, when you are a passenger, your only psychological recourse is to play the victim.
And the signs of playing the victim are so universally recognizable.
Oh, they're everywhere.
Blaming the economy, blaming the boss,
Yeah.
justifying your situation by saying, well, money isn't that important.
Which is such a tell. If you told your spouse they weren't important, they wouldn't stick around very long.
No, they wouldn't.
And money does the exact same thing.
But it's the complaining that really gets me.
Complaining is perhaps the most destructive, energetic habit a person can possess.
Why is it so bad?
When you complain, what are you actively focusing on? The negative, the obstacles. And a fundamental rule of human focus is that whatever you focus on expands.
So you just get more of the bad stuff.
Exactly. By constantly complaining about what is wrong, you become a living, breathing crap magnet.
A crap magnet. I love that visual.
You are actively draining your own energetic resources to maintain a state of grievance.
That energy drain really explains why simply trying to get by is so dangerous. It forces you to play defense. If you're constantly playing not to lose, you're never going to take the shots required to actually win.
Playing not to lose is a trap.
I think about this in terms of sports. Imagine playing basketball, but you refuse to cross half court. You just stand by your own net, swatting away the other team's shots, absolutely terrified they might score.
You're just guarding the hoop.
Exactly. What are your chances of winning that game? 0. You might prevent a blowout, but you will never, ever win.
That is a brilliant illustration of the middle class mindset. The primary goal of the middle class is usually just to be comfortable.
Comfortable, right?
The brain craves comfort because it feels safe. But comfort is a purely defensive posture. It's a mentality of limitation that keeps you pinned on your side of the court.
It's the feeling of going to a knife restaurant, completely ignoring the steak, and ordering the chicken dish purely because it's the cheapest thing on the menu.
Oh, yeah. The $7.95 special.
Right. You don't even let your eyes drift to the seafood section. And the words market price induce absolute panic. It's living within a self-imposed cage of limitation just to avoid losing.
And escaping that cage requires more than just wanting to be wealthy. I mean, billions of people want wealth.
Wanting is easy.
Exactly. It requires an absolute, unreserved commitment. A willingness to do whatever it takes within ethical bounds. It's shifting from, I'd like to be rich, to the warrior's mindset. I will be rich or die trying.
And that level of commitment entirely changes how you interact with the real world. It forces you to look at the scale of your actions.
Scale is everything.
Right, because if you are an entrepreneur or even an employee, you are fundamentally a problem solver. That's what business actually is. But the law of income dictates that you are paid in direct proportion to the value you deliver to the marketplace.
This raises a really important question for anyone evaluating their career or business right now. Are you solving problems for 10 people or 10,000 people?
Huge difference.
Massive. If you want to increase your income, you have to increase your scale. You have to think bigger than your immediate surroundings.
But thinking bigger naturally introduces a lot more risk. When a new opportunity arises, a poor mindset immediately scans for obstacles. It fixates on the risks, the potential for loss.
While a wealthy mindset scans for rewards, they look for the upside. They practice a concept called entering the corridor.
Entering the corridor. Okay, break that down.
Entering the corridor means getting into the game before you have all the answers. Action always beats inaction.
Right.
You cannot learn the intricacies of the hotel business by standing on the street and looking at the building. You have to get inside the corridor. You have to take a job there, invest in one, or start managing one. You learn the nuances by actually doing.
So what does this actually mean for risk management? Because entering the corridor sounds incredibly gold, but isn't that just jumping out of an airplane and hoping you figure out how to weave a parachute on the way down?
Well, no.
I mean, you can't just blindly throw money at things and
There.
call it an abundance mindset.
That is a crucial distinction. Abundance does not mean recklessness. Wealthy minds do not take blind risks. They take educated risks.
Educated risk.
Right. They gather essential information as rapidly as possible, make an informed decision, and then take action. They trust their ability to adjust course once they are moving inside the corridor.
And the poor mindset.
Poor minds, on the other hand, let the fear of not knowing every single detail paralyze them. They snarl under the guise of getting ready or doing more research.
By the time they finally feel safe enough to act.
The opportunity is completely gone.
Paralysis by analysis.
Yeah.
And once you do take action and start generating real income, the entire focus of your financial management has to shift, doesn't it?
It absolutely has to. You have to stop obsessing over your working income, like your paycheck, and start obsessing over your overall net worth.
This shift is vital because of Parkinson's law.
Yes. Parkinson's law is brutal. It states that expenses will almost always rise to meet income.
Oh, I've seen that happen so many times. You get a raise, you buy a nicer car.
You get a promotion, you upgrade your house.
Exactly. Your working income goes up, but your net worth stays completely stagnant because you view excess money as a permission slip for lifestyle inflation rather than a tool for freedom.
Which is exactly why the concept of the financial freedom account is so essential.
How's that work?
The rule is simple, but completely non-negotiable. You take 10% of every dollar you earn and put it into an account that is never, ever spent.
Never.
Never. It is only used for investments. It is the mechanism that shifts your money from working hard to support your lifestyle to working hard to multiply itself.
It's basically paying your future self first.
Exactly. Because managing your money effectively is infinitely more important than the amount you currently have.
Right.
Until you show you can handle what you have, the universe or the marketplace just won't give you any more.
So what does this all mean for us? We've covered a massive amount of ground today.
We really have.
We started by looking at the tree of life, realizing that manipulating the financial fruits is completely useless until we dig into the dirt and rewrite the invisible roots of our programming.
And we trace those roots back to the verbal scripts, the modeled behaviors, and the emotional traumas of our childhood.
We explored how to clear that old code using the physical and vibrational power of declarations.
And we mapped out the transition from playing a defensive victimhood game to adopting an expansive, action-oriented mindset that solves problems at an incredible scale.
It's basically a complete rewiring of the brain's financial architecture.
It is. It really is. And as we wrap up, I want to leave you with a final, highly provocative thought to mull over.
Okay, let's hear it.
We discussed earlier how people use the victim posture, blaming and complaining, to get something out of their environment.
Right, to avoid responsibility.
Yes, but what they're usually trying to extract is attention.
Attention?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But human beings chronically confuse attention with love. It is a profound psychological trap. As the text boldly declares, there is no such thing as a really rich victim.
A really rich victim.
Right. If your subconscious goal in life is to gather attention through pity, your mind will ensure you never achieve true wealth.
Because if you are rich, capable, and successful, the pity stops.
Exactly. The comforting attention of being the struggling underdog vanishes overnight. To stay a victim, attention seekers will subconsciously make darn sure they never get rich.
That hits incredibly hard. So the ultimate question you have to ask yourself as you look at your own life is this. Are you subconsciously sabotaging your own wealth just to hold on to the comforting attention and sympathy of others?
That's a tough question.
It really is. Because if you are confusing pity with love, you are watering the most toxic root in your entire mental garden.
It is time to unhook attention from love so you can finally allow yourself to succeed.
Beautifully said. Well, thank you all for joining us on this deep dive into the architecture of your own mind. It takes immense courage to look at your blueprints and admit where the bugs are, but it is the only way to permanently fix the thermostat.
Absolutely.
We wish you the absolute best of luck in rewriting your financial code. Until next time, keep digging into those roots.